prepare your notes, right? Because you're going to have the necessity to take notes to, well, highlight your main arguments, also your ideas, the illustrations you would like to include as well, of course, in the response. So all those details, please try to manage them. Well, here we are. We're done. So let's start with this together. I'm going to share my screen with you. And here I have the questions for you. Okay, here we are. I'm going to take my cell phone to send a document to the WhatsApp group that I think it's important for us. Just give me a sec, okay? I'm going to send it. I'm going to look for it. Sorry, I'm having some trouble to find it. But here I have it, don't worry. Okay, here it is. Great. Okay. All right, got it. Great. I'm gonna send it them. Just look for this and I'm sending to the WhatsApp group, okay? It's a link that says bettertoeflscores.com. And trust me, that is very important, okay? Because it's something that we're going to use together tonight. Well, let's go then. Let's start. Please open that link if you are able to. But anyways, if you are not able, don't worry, just follow me, okay? So here, this is a very good resource, by the way, that I found time ago that contains 90 questions for the speaking section task number 1. And actually, well, if you think about it, making this type of question is something very easy. The only thing you have to come out with on your mind is something of a binary question. That is to say, a question that people could easily respond to by having two contrary alternatives. Just in case at some point you get or you run out of material to continue practicing this, just think about a question that contains a binary response and you can practice by yourself. Anyways, here you have 90 questions and we're going to use these ones to practice tonight. Okay, so let's go directly to the practice. I'm going to go right now to the question 90 and we're going to start from the bottom so that when you use this by your own, later on when you practice by yourself, of course, you don't get confused and you don't repeat the questions, right? So let's go. Here I have the first question. I'm going to paste it to the chat box, okay? And then one by one, you're going to respond as we did yesterday. Here we are. Well, I'm going to read the question. You know that after I read, I'm going to start with 15 seconds. And please get used to this because this is how it works on the exam as well. You don't have more time. Everything is very quickly, okay? So let's go. Here we are. Great. So I'm going to read the question. It says the following. People should no longer be allowed to own pets like dogs and cats. Do you think that this is a good idea? Give reasons and details to support your argument. Okay, now that you have read the question, please start, all of you, preparing your responses for this question now. Okay, there you are. Well, in this case, in this first round of responses, please, our dear Fla is going to help me. Okay, Fla. So you're going to be the first one to respond, and you can start doing so now.
Okay, regarding to the topic, I consider that it's a good idea because of the following reasons. First of all, I don't know.
Okay, that's okay. Don't worry, Fa. Oh, fantastic, great. Don't worry, it's okay. Very good. So you're going to respond to the next one. Don't worry. And if you want, you can think about the response and you can respond as the last person. Okay, you tell me. Great. Let's go with Lenny then. Please, dear Lenny, this is going to be yours. Okay. Please, you can start responding to this question now.
Okay, with regard to the topic, I consider that it's a really bad idea because I think that people need to be in companion with pets, especially with dogs, because they are a really good friends for all of us. So I think that kids need to. For example, in my house, I have 3 different pets. I have a dog, I have a cat, and I have a parrot too. And they make that my nephews and nieces feels better between them.
Okay, beautiful. Thank you very much. You're Lenny, fantastic. Okay, let's go with our dear Lucia. Please, Lucia, you're going to respond and you can start doing so now.
With regard to the topic, I believe have dogs is a good idea because of the following reasons. Dogs are loyal pets and change human being's life. For example, I have a dog who transformed my point of view to see the life. And I think the second argument is that sometimes dogs are therapeutic animals. For example, I had an aunt that her dog can help her with her illnesses.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you very much. Okay. Awesome. And now let's finalize this one with Maya. Okay, please, dear Maya, you can respond to the question now.
Okay. Well, regarding to the topic, I believe that pets like dogs and cats are so important in a way that they are a part of the modern family. For me, dogs and cats help me to make my days funnier. I have 3 dogs, and I ever since I they are part of my family. My days are funnier, happier, and they are part like one other member of my family.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much. Okay, thank you guys. Great. Well, let's start with some feedback then to all of you. All right. Well, oh, by the way, dear Fly, you want to respond once again, or would you like to go to the next question? Yeah, next question. Okay, great. Well, so what about Lenny's response? So Lenny, I think that you offered a great response here. You presented 2 arguments. First of all, you said people need animals companion. And then you talked about how you have 3 pets at home. Very good. That's the idea when I say making it personal, talking about your life. And then a second argument you presented was that animals make children feel good. And then you also talked about your nephews and how having these pets at home help them to have such an interaction and fun. And that's great. I think that both arguments were great and illustrations too. Here, maybe what I could recommend you would be trying to make it even more specific. Instead of saying I have 3 pets, you could say I have 3 pets. Wancho, Oreo, and I don't know, whatever or name you can come out with, right? That type of detail always makes these illustrations very much enjoyable and I would say memorable. At the end, what you want is, as I say, the reviewer to listen your illustration and to have a good time, because that's what makes you stand out from the rest. That's what makes you be different to the rest of very common test takers, and of course to receive a higher grade as a reward for that. Okay, but great, very good response. Then we have Lucia's response too. And here she also presented wonderful arguments. First of all, she said, well, animals to me help me in changing my worldview, because I've had an animal before, a dog, that helped me to change my perspective on an issue, right? Great, as I say, very good argument. Then she also said, animals can serve therapeutic purposes, as for example, my uncle who's suffering some sort of illness has been held by an animal. Very good. I think that both arguments are great as well, very clever. So as I said to Lenny, maybe trying to make it, I don't know, to offering this detail that makes it even more personal and I would say more dramatic, like talking about, for example, the name of this animal, right? The dog that helped you to have the significant change in your perspective will have been great. Things of that are just details, with these just details, okay? But great, Lucia, very good. And then we also had Maya. And Maya also here offered very interesting arguments. She said, I think that this is a bad idea because animals today are part of modern families. And that was her first argument. And secondly, she said, animals make your life funnier. Fantastic. And she also talks about how she has 3 dogs, and of course help her to well, have a very interesting life. As I say, maybe the details, right? And something that I can recommend to all of you is avoiding redundancies. You know what is redundancy, right? So for example, if you say, let's say you offer an argument and you say, dogs make your life more interesting. That's the argument, right? So that should be the argument. And that's all you have to say with regard to that first argument. It is not necessary to throw out a second sentence saying something like, if your sentence was, right, dogs made your life more interesting, you shouldn't say, after you mention that sentence, something like, and what I mean by that is that interesting is funnier. You shouldn't say something like that, because this redundancy of adding a second sentence to explain something that should be intrinsically understandable in the argument itself is not necessary. And remember, at the end, how are you going to make your arguments more understandable without saying more sentences? By the illustration, right? These illustrations help us to be more flexible and more dynamic, right? And that's what we want, okay? So please avoid making repetitions or throwing a lot of sentences to talk about the same thing. With one sentence to describe a particular point is absolutely sufficient, okay? And then you can move on to the next part, next illustration or next argument, okay? Great, let's go with another question. We have several of them. Here we have a very interesting question. And remember, these questions are always like this, but some of them present more difficulty because they, I don't know, they comment on more serious topics, but at the end, all of them are personal, okay? So whenever you find a topic that you say, hey, this is serious, I should think about this a little bit slower and consider it. No, just think about it in a personal way. Just say whatever you think about it, okay? Never let these topics to, I don't know, to scare you or something if you think, hey, this is serious. No, if the question is serious or talks about a very much delicate topic, don't even feel it. Just continue responding as you think about it personally, okay? So this question says, minors who are under the age of 18 who still should not be put in jail. In your opinion, is this a good idea? Why or why not? Provide supporting details in your response. There you are. So all of you, please start preparing your responses now. There you are. Okay. Now, please, let's go with the second round of responses. In this case, the person who's going to start will be Lucia. Okay. So please, dear Lucia, you can start responding to this question now.
With regard to the topic, I think it's a good idea because of the following reason. Still is not a big crime as a violation or a sexual abuse. For example, I have a friend who who has who commit a big crime, not a steal, he can he has another type of therapy for that. And the second argument is I think it's necessary to apply restorative justice to make a psychological therapy for criminals.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Lucia. Great response. All right. Okay. Great. Awesome. Let's go with the next student. Let's go with our dear Lenny. Please, Lenny, you go. So please, you can start responding now.
With regard to the topic, I think it's a good idea because of the following reasons. First of all, young people don't need to be into a jail because they are, as I told you after, they are young and they need and they should be in an environment that is appropriate for them. So even when they made acts of steal or others, they need to be have another kinds of punishment, and I think they will learn better with that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Lenny. Fantastic. All right, let's move on to our dear Please, dear Flavia, you go next, okay? So please, you can start, well, responding to the question now.
In regard to the topic, I think it's a bad idea because of the following reasons. First of all, if you do something bad, you should have a punishment. And if you don't correct it now, it will be worse in the future.
Okay. All right, thank you very much. Wow, fantastic. There you are. Okay. Thank you very much. Let's continue with, and let's finalize this round actually with Maya. Okay, so please, Maya, you can start responding now.
Regard to the topic, minors should get into jail because they know the difference between wrong and good actions. But for me, the punish should be short and not so rough as they are for adults. That's all.
Okay, thank you very much, Maya. Fantastic. Okay. Awesome. All right, guys. Thank you very much. Well, let's go with some feedback to all of you. Well, great. Awesome. So, well, maybe something that I can here notice and comment on would be what I just told you, right? I think that in this case, some of you were having some trouble with regard to the time in general, right? Before I make some very much specific commentaries. And I think that's because redundancy is affecting your responses. I think that what you have to understand is short sentences and direct statements help you not only to save more time, but also to make the response clear. So whenever you have to say something, try not to maximize the quantity of words you have to use for that particular idea to be expressed, but try to minimize the quantity of words you use for saying the exact same thing, okay? Now, with regard to some specific commentaries, we'll go with Lucia. So you offered a fantastic argument here, very interesting. I've never heard it. You said stealing is not very much considerable crime. Therefore, these minors shouldn't be imprisoned because of it. Great, very clever argument. Then you said, I had a friend, and now notice that for saying this argument, then notice how I said it, right? Stealing is not a very considerable crime. That could have been the argument. But notice that in your response, what you did instead was to comment more on that argument. You didn't use this very simple sentence to express the argument, but you re-explained it. You said, and this and that, and you explain more, right? You extended the argument. So instead of making that very extensive argument, try to simplify it to a simple sentence like this one. Stealing is not a very much considerable crime. And that's it. And then you move on to the illustration immediately. And then here you talk about your friend who didn't actually commit a very important crime and was going through some alternative treatment. Interesting. As I say, that's great because we're talking about your friend. Fantastic. And then your second argument, you didn't have too much time here to say it, but you said, I think that minors should go or should undergo some alternative treatments as well, right? And well, you didn't have time to mention the illustration here. So as I say, instead of maximizing the quantity of words to use for saying a particular idea, try to minimize it and to reduce it to a simple sentence, okay? That is the idea. That is the goal here, to make your responses perfect, okay? But great, Lucia. So let me hear as well. I think that you offer a fantastic response. You said they shouldn't be in prison because they are young and they need to have an appropriate environment. Now notice that how I'm telling your arguments, how I'm retelling you this is a very simple sentence. They shouldn't, or in this case, right, with regard to the topic, I believe they shouldn't be imprisoned. Firstly, because they are young and they need an appropriate environment. Notice that the argument, the way I'm telling it is they are young and they need an appropriate environment. And that's it. You don't actually need to say more about the argument. You don't need to re-explain it. And I know this is something very common because in Spanish, we are very extensive in our commentaries. When we say something, we re-explain it and say it again and again. It's like we try to look at it at different angles. We say something, and then we say the very same thing, but looking at that particular idea from other angle or perspective, let's say. So try to avoid that and just say the sentence, and then you move on to the illustration immediately, okay? So in this case, of course, you didn't present an illustration as such, but I guess it's because, well, the topic was too complex for you to think about an illustration. But remember, you can make them up. For example, if your argument was this one, you could have said, yesterday I was watching the TV, and in my country, there was a boy who was abused because he was imprisoned with other criminals. Notice, by saying that very much made up illustration, because of course, I guess you didn't look at that particular news on the TV, you are expressing the exact same information you'll try to convey in the argument, but on the actual word, right? So notice, by making it up, just as something very much natural, okay? But anyways, great response. Then Flavia as well offer here a very interesting argument. She said, and she said very clearly, bad things should definitely suffer punishment. That is to say, you should punish wrongdoings, right? So that was the argument she presented, and it's a very interesting one. Now notice that in this case, maybe you didn't present a personal illustration, and that's a very important part of the response, okay? You want to offer this incredible type of arguments. You want to offer very clever and direct arguments, as you did in this case, because you said directly, bad things should be punished. That was the argument, and it was very short and very much direct. I love that. And now here, the only thing that would be missing or lacking to me would be the personal illustration. You could have said, for example, I don't know, when my nephew lies to me, I always punish her, and that way she learns to be a honest person. You know, something like that. You are illustrating what you say, that wrongdoings in young people should also, of course, be punished because that helps them and, I don't know, shapes them to be incredible persons, right? So by saying illustrations like that, and by the way, made up illustrations, right? You can help your argument and you can help your response very much, trust me. Okay, but great response as well. And finally, Maya, here she offered an argument. She said, very interesting argument as well. They know the difference between right and wrong. And that was the argument. And well, here, you didn't present an argument, an illustration as such as well. So I would strongly recommend you to always present illustrations and try to present two arguments, okay? So for all of you, this is a recommendation for all of you, two arguments, okay? There are people, because I know, of course, other colleagues that recommend to students and actually ask them to come up with three arguments. I honestly think that's abusive, first of all, and secondly, I think it's unnecessary, especially because you have 45 seconds to respond. But think about it, one argument in any debate around the world would be a very, very much a small qualification. That is to say, you are not able to present a strong case for your particular position. So when you come up with 2 arguments, I think that's the perfect quantity in this case, because by 2 arguments, you demonstrate, hey, I have reasons for thinking this. I'm not just coming out with the opinion and that's it. No, I am very well sustained by presenting 2 arguments, okay? So always try to come up with 2. Even if you don't have more time to, as I say, comment on your illustrations or something, try to, let's say, demand your own mind to always think about 2. And at the end, by practice, you're going to do it very naturally, okay? But 2 arguments. Anyways, very good response, Maya, as well. Try to offer the illustration too, okay? Let's go, let's move on. We have more practices. Okay, this is interesting, actually. And I think that in this case, you can talk about your own experiences, because I think that all of you are in the university already or haven't finalized it. So here you have, do you think that it is a good idea to talk to an academic advisor before choosing your major? Support your points with specific examples and details. There you are. I'm gonna paste it here anyways. So please, all of you, start preparing your responses for this question now. There you are. Okay, so in this case, the first person to respond will be our dear Maya. Okay, so please, dear Maya, you can start responding to this question now.
Regards to the topic, I believe that it's very important to get an advisor, academic advisor, because so many people don't really know what to do after they graduate, and that I think that they'll help people to get a good job and make a career plan.
Okay, thank you very much, dear Maya. Okay, fantastic, awesome. There you are. Okay, so let's continue with our dear Lucia. Please, dear Lucia, you're going to continue. You can start responding now.
With regard to the topic, yes, I believe it's a good idea to choose a specific major, because it's a way to organize your career plan and your future dreams. For example, I will do a human rights major because in the past at university, I used to participate in moot courts of human rights. And the second, it's a way to organize and open your mind to reinforce new skills that you have. So also in my case, I have the opportunity to refresh that. Yeah.
Okay. Yes, thank you very much. Anyways, Lucia, very good response. Let's continue with Lenny. Sorry, let's move on to Lenny. Please, dear Lenny, you can start responding now.
Okay. With regard to the topic, I think it's a good idea, but not indispensable because of the following reasons. You can choose your major with the help with someone, but you can choose by your own with the help of the internet by now. And for example, when I was choosing my MBA maybe 3 years ago, I select an advisor, but it was better choosing by my own because I could select the best MBA for me, that it wasn't in the options of the advisor.
Okay. Thank you very much. Fantastic, dear Lenny. And let us finalize with our dear Flavia. Please, Flavia, you can start responding to the question now.
Okay, regarding the topic, I think it's a good idea because of the following reasons. And if you talk with someone that can help you, you can have a better decision. For example, I have a cousin that she always changed his major and she lost his time, her time.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, Fla. Fantastic. Awesome. Well, some feedback to all of you then. Well, let's start with Maya. So Maya here presented two interesting arguments. First of all, you said, Maya, people are confused after graduation. That was your first argument, and that's why they should go with an advisor. And secondly, you said, well, advisors help people to get very good jobs. Okay, both of them valid arguments, very good ones. And well, as I say here, maybe what lacks to me as well would be the illustrations. Okay, the illustrations, as I say, help you to make it more vivid, personal, relatable, and memorable too. So try to perfect this skill. Okay, and as I say, at this point, I would actually recommend to all of you that if it is easier to you, always make up your illustrations. Personally, long time ago, I finalized or I was done with telling things of my own. That is to say, with trying to think about stories of my actual life to use in my responses. And I always started to make them up. Like when I was practicing or doing some sort of, I don't know, a workshop about this, I always demonstrated this ability by making up stories in my illustrations. And I think that it's a very much relaxing and also suitable manner to do it. Okay, so at any point you can always make it up. Okay, but great, Maya, fantastic. Then we had Lucia, who offered fantastic arguments. The one that I liked the most was when she said, you know, well, this can help you to organize your mind when you are, of course, very much, let's say, troubled or overwhelmed with activities and, of course, ideas. I think that, well, you didn't have time to include the illustration there, but it was a very interesting argument. Anyways, then I love that how you talked about your particular career when you discussed your first argument. You said, you know, I am taking this human rights major. And the reason why I'm doing this is because, of course, I had this help and guidance from other people. Fantastic. I think that's the idea, as I told you. And in this case, you were very specific because you said human rights, right? So you could have said, I'm taking this major without saying what major was. And in this case, you didn't do so, but you offered a very specific commentary, right? And that's what I said what I mean when I say specific. Okay, very good there. So fantastic. And don't worry about the second illustration. I think that is just a matter of measuring. You know what measuring is, right? Just trying to measure the time by yourself as you practice. And then, you know, okay, I have to stop here talking about the first argument because if I don't do so, I'm not going to have time for the second argument. And trust me, you get that basically automatically when you practice and practice, okay? So don't worry about that particular skill or power, let's say, to measure how much adequate time you invest on every single point. It just comes to you naturally, okay, as you practice. And then finally, oh, well, not finally, but Lenny, we also had it, that you also presented great arguments. You said, but here, well, you know, you said the internet for now, actually, or nowadays, internet is sufficient for you to get a very good advice on what career to choose or what graduate degrees to choose. And in this case, you talked about your MBA and how, in your own experience, it wasn't actually necessary to go and consult something with an advisor because on the internet, you actually found more available options that were not, let's say, revealed or known by the advisor you were actually going to consult before. So it is fantastic. I think it was a beautiful argument, very powerful, and the illustration was even better. Now here, the only thing that I would comment on your response would be how you preface the response. When you said, when you offered your opinion, you said, right, I think that it's good to go to an advisor, but not that much, right? Or it is good, but yeah. So when I listened to that, it sounded to me like a middle ground response because you were saying, okay, I am not actually convinced by this response, but I'm gonna go for this one, noticing also, of course, some disadvantages of it. And as I told you, maybe in my case, I love the response. I'm not, let's say, I don't have any problem with that particular prefacing, but let us think that the reviewers who work for ETS are not that much flexible as I am. And maybe they, as I say, are going to perceive that your response is a little bit ambiguous because you were saying, right, it is fine, but it has its negative aspects. So at the end, you wonder, so is this student or this test taker defending what position at the end? Is she defending that it's bad or good? So as I say, instead of doing this, I think that your response will have been better placed in the negative response. That is to say, no, advisors are not necessary nowadays because of the following reasons. And then you said the argument. Internet nowadays is a more powerful tool for getting the advice and counseling you need, right? So notice that by placing your response and your opinion on that particular side, it made more sense and was also less ambiguous, okay? So I would recommend you to do so and always avoiding that middle ground responses and ambiguous phrases that I love them because they offer some sort of mystery to the response. Let us always think about the safer manner, excuse me, the safest manner to approach the exam, okay? But beautiful. And we also had Flavia, who offered a very interesting argument as well. She said, you know, people are, or people need actually better decisions, and that's what advisors can offer to these people, right? And here she offered a beautiful illustration. She said, I have a particular person I know in my life who changes his major or her major very constantly. And that type of person needs an advisor. It's beautiful because she presented that argument and then she re-explained the idea, or she explained what she meant by offering the argument and, excuse me, the illustration. And the illustration to me helped me to clarify what she meant. Now, notice that the argument doesn't actually need to be super clear at the beginning. If you use the illustration to clarify those points that maybe were implicit in your argument, is very good, as Flavia did in this case. Fantastic. The only thing here for me, a second argument, right? But as I say, try to push yourself, not punish, sorry, to push yourself or to force yourself to always come up with a second one. Even if it is not that good, just say it, a second argument, okay? Anyways, fantastic. Let's continue. All right. Okay, this is interesting. And I think that actually you can also offer here a lot of personal experiences on this. Next question says the following. Do you think that it is a good idea to save about 5% of your salary each month? Give reasons and details to support your argument. Okay. Now, please, all of you, dear students, start preparing your responses now. There you are. All right. So in this case, our dear Lenny is going to start this round. Okay, so please, dear Lenny, you can start responding this question now.
With regard to the topic, I think it's the best idea because of the following reasons. First of all, save money could make you rich in the future. But adding to that, invest the money that you saved before makes the better financial strategy for your life and for your future life. If you want to have a family, it's the best idea. For example, in my case, I don't have family now, but I am saving all the money that I can.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you very much, dear Lenny. Okay. All right. Awesome. Very good. So let's continue with our dear Lucia. Please, Lucia, you can respond to the question now.
With regarding to the topic, I believe that it's a good idea to save money because of the following reasons. First, I think if you save money, allows you to achieve dreams or projects. For example, I love to travel, and every year I use all the saves for travel. And the second, it's necessary to save money in case you are going to have emergencies. For example, I had an uncle that used that save for an emergency about an operation, a special operation that, thanks to that save, it can save his life.
Beautiful. Thank you very much, Lucia. Fantastic. And now let's continue with our dear Flavia. Let's hear Flavia. You can start responding to the question now.
Okay, regarding the topic, I think it's a good idea because of the following reasons. First of all, you can save your money, and with that you can travel. For example, my mom saves, and then she travel. I don't know. I
Okay. No, it's okay. Don't worry. Thank you very much, Flavia. Fantastic. Very good. And now let's finalize with our dear Maya. Okay, Maya, you can start responding now.
The topic, I think that 5% is very low because it's not enough. I save at least 5% of my salary, and I realized that after years of working, that money helped me to invest in business, and I also traveled a lot, and so maybe people should increase that percent of saving.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. You're Maya. Fantastic. Great. All right. Awesome. So now let's offer some feedback. Well, great. I think that let's start with Lenny here. So Lenny, your response was great. So here you offered when you started, I loved how you in this case offered a very clear opinion. Fantastic there. And then you offered your first argument. You said it's good for family, because if you are saving money for your family in the future, even although you don't have one right now, that is going to help you to secure a very good future. Fantastic. And then of course, well, I perceive the second argument as being you get richer. Well, fantastic. It's also a valid argument. So yeah, maybe here what I could say, as I say, maybe the illustrations once again, trying to, I don't know, you could have said, well, in this case, you did offer the illustration when you said, I don't have family now. In the future, I want to have it. Fantastic. But maybe for the second argument, right? To explain what you mean by richer, you could have said, I don't know, in the future, I want to afford a mansion, and I want to get my Lamborghini, and I want to get Gucci shoes, whatever, right? Or trousers. By offering that type of illustration, very specific, what you want to get when you get richer, you clarify the idea, right? And you convey the sense of the argument. But apart from that, fantastic, very good response. Then we also had Lucia, and Lucia here offered beautiful arguments. First of all, she said, it's good to save because it helps you to have dreams and projects attained. And she talked about how by saving money, she travels every single year. She travels. Fantastic. Maybe the cherry of the illustration would have been, where do you travel? Like this year, I'm planning to travel to, I don't know, to Amsterdam or something, right? Beautiful. Then for emergencies, very good argument. You said, I have an uncle who had an operation, although of course it was very sudden. And because he had those savings, he saved his life. Beautiful. I think it was fantastic there. Very good, Lucia. Then we had Flavia as well, who offered a very good argument. She also said, it's good to save money for traveling. And then she talked about her mom, beautiful as well. She said, my mom is saving right now because she wants to travel, right? And as I said, maybe you could have here implemented a more specific thing. You say, we are planning to travel to, I don't know, to Cochabamba, or we're planning to travel to Brazil or to, I don't know, to Argentina, right? And maybe that could have add a little bit more of flavor, right, to the illustration, but it's beautiful anyways without it. And as I said, the second argument, is important. I think it's certainly necessary to include it. But as I say, always push yourself, continue pushing yourself, and you're gonna notice that at the end, it's gonna be very much easy to you to come up with this second argument that I really recommend you to include it. Okay. Anyways, very good. And then we had Maya, who offered another argument. She said two arguments actually. It helps you to invest in future business, and second, to travel a lot as well. Here, once again, dear Maya, illustrations. Maybe what is missing to me there is the illustrations. You could have said, for example, last year, because I saved, I don't know, $10,000, I was able to invest in Bitcoins or whatever, or in trading, and now I have doubled that quantity or something. And then when traveling, you could have said, as I recommended to your classmates, this year, because of my savings, I'm planning to travel to Qatar, right? Whatever. It's actually any type of illustration, it's good. Okay, awesome. You're improving. All of you are improving very much. Let's go with the final question, okay, for tonight's class. Here you have it. Is the following. Investing in a house is much, okay, no, not this one, because I think it's a little bit confusing because not all of you know what stock market is. And I think, well, let's go with another one. Okay, I think this is even funnier. Let's go with this one. This is it. Okay, so the question is this one. Okay, I'm gonna read it. It says, do you think that it is a good idea to date someone who speaks a different language than you do? Support your points with specific examples and details. Okay. You can start, please, preparing your responses now. Okay, now let's start with our dear Lucia. Please, Lucia, you can start responding to this question now.
With regard to the topic, I think it's a good idea because of the following reasons. First, I think you improve your language skills. For example, the real expressions, the native words, and some specific phrasal verbs. In my case, I date with someone that speaks another language and improve a lot of the other language that I was learning. And the second, I think, is important because it's an opportunity to exchange cultural opportunities and customs. For example, I had a friend who can exchange different opportunities with that.
Okay, it's okay, don't worry. Thank you very much. And let's continue with Lenny. Please, sir, Lenny, you can start responding the question now.
With regard to the topic, I think it's a good idea, mainly if you are trying to learn a new language, and because of the following reasons too. First of all, if you want to learn more about heritage cultural about another country, you can date with a person with that country. And by now, you can talk with so much persons online. For example, in my case, I was dating with a boy. It was Jefferson, and he was from Canada. And it was a good experience because I learned a lot about Canada. And now I want to immigrate to that country.
Beautiful. Thank you very much. Lenny, there you are. Let's continue with Maya. Please, your Maya, you can start responding to the question now.
Regard to the topic, I believe that is very interesting because you learn about a lot about different culture. 2 years ago, I dated someone from France, and I learned a lot about their food and the type of parties they have, and also because you will learn another language, and that can help you to maybe travel more and know other people.
Right. Thank you. Thank you very much, Maya. Fantastic. And let us finalize this round with our dear Flavia. Please, here, Flavia, you can start responding now.
Okay, regard to the topic, I think it's a good idea because of the following reasons. First, you can learn about the language. For example, I dated an Italian and I learned some new words. And second, you can meet new people. For example, my aunt married an American and now she lives there and she has more friends.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you very much, Flavia. Great. Well, fantastic. I am very much content with all your responses in this round. I think that all of them were perfect. All of you offered very interesting as well experiences with your dates, and of course, very interesting to listen about that. Well, fantastic. So we're going to finalize here then. As you know, or as you can see, actually, you have improved a lot, right? Just by practicing tonight. And what I want to do with you is I want to send right now to the WhatsApp group some material, okay, that I was preparing for you. And I want you to use this to practice in your free time. Of course, we're going to practice tomorrow anyways. But when we finalize this section, of course, I don't want you to have some sort of emptiness there of material, at least to practice this part. So let me please send this. Where's that? Okay, here I have it. So here I have this compilation of different material that I prepared for the speaking section. Okay, so please download this whenever you can and practice by yourself as well. Okay, and of course you have here this resource that I also sent with 90 questions for the first task. You can use it to practice at every point. Okay. Anyways, okay, so let us please take your assistance before you go and help me with your responses. Okay, your kind responses with this traditional poll. All right, let's go here. Look for your names. If you have any commentary, please feel free to express it. Okay. Okay, here we are. Okay, so Fernando was not here. Okay. And tonight, guys, as you know, it's Thursday. Therefore, we're going to take a second poll. Okay, so please help me with that before you go to. Okay, look at your screen and help me with that second poll as well. All right. And here we have Lenny Jimenez.
Present, teacher.
Thank you very much, Lenny. What about Yvonne Cana? Okay. What about Maya Mariel?
Present, teacher.
Thank you very much, dear Maya. What about Flavia Montaño?
Present.
Thank you very much, Flavia. And we finally had Lucia Sulema.
Here, teacher.
All right, there you are. Okay, guys, thank you then for your presence tonight. Very much pleasing experience to be with you. And I'm going to be seeing you tomorrow to finalize our practices for the speaking section task number 1. Have a wonderful night, okay? Thank you very much.